This is our hotel room, so very interesting. Tiny, number one. So here's the door as you walk in. Give you the spin. Child-sized bed, which no big deal. Sleeping is sleeping. King-size beds are great, but perfectly content with what we have. But this is my favorite bathroom of all time. So sink, toilet, and then the shower. So I took a shower in here earlier. I just stood right in front of the toilet as the water just rained down into it and then into the drain. So pretty interesting. It actually makes a lot of sense now that I think about it, but never seen that before. We didn't travel to Bulgaria with a translator, which was a kind of rough 4 days. So in the early going, we got through a lot of the this is how you swing, this is how you throw kind of stuff by, acting it out and pantomiming it. But that's kind of run dry, and as the gameplay got going, it was clear that guys didn't know where to be in certain positions. We didn't know how to throw the ball around the horn. There were just lots of little things in baseball that we take for granted that if you're a beginner, you just don't know, and it's no one's fault. But there's just lots of those little things in baseball that, one example was our first baseman was holding the runner on, doing a fine job, but I wanted him, as soon as the pitcher delivered the ball, to shuffle off the base and get into his ready position. There was literally no way I could act that out. If I told him to, get off the base, he just stopped holding the runner. If I said, so it just became difficult to get some of those teaching moments across as I saw them in action for the first time. And lots of the little custodial things like taking a ball into the outfield to throw around during each inning, throwing it around the horn after the final warm-up pitch. All those things are not counterintuitive, but you just wouldn't think to do them.
Throw it around.
And they require a lot more verbal explanation than they do physical demonstration. So that was definitely one of the challenges of the Bulgaria trip, was trying to communicate all these little teaching moments without having a translator. And it was a lot of Google Translate, me showing, typing out and showing the phone, which works okay. But a lot of it was just like, we're going to have to try to address that when we get back, because there's just no real way I can explain what needs to be explained to fix that situation here in the game. Be about 1-2 meters away from the base. That's normal. Playing back is about 1-2 meters behind the base. So you would play back if there's no one on base, say there's 2 outs and your play is going to be at first.
What are you chochuklar eating?
Buradan alın parça. Alın oradan salataları karıştırın.
So Camille is this older guy. He is a former wrestler. I'm not sure how, I don't know if he was an Olympian, but he was a really good wrestler from what I've gathered. Has coached a lot of the wrestlers who are converting to baseball now. He's coached the president of the Turkish Rugby and Baseball and Softball Federation. So he's been around a long time, but he's got a lot of really good friends in Bulgaria. So he took me and Luis, another coach, around, and we met a bunch of his friends and had a pretty fun night out with him. He's just a really affable guy. He's got these huge hands, and Luis calls him Don Corleone. Like he'd be the enforcer. If he was in a mob family. He's just like this big gorilla, but he's just the nicest guy. He just reminds me of one of those old goofy grandpas who just wants everyone to have a good time. And he was just really excited to show us off to his friends and show us around a little bit. And he took us to all of like these restaurants that from friends that he knew or whatever. So we had team dinners a lot of different places, and Bulgarian food is awesome. It's a lot of like big shareable plates, which I assume is probably the norm in Europe, much more so than in the U.S. But lots of cucumbers and tomatoes and cheese, and we had steak and chicken and a lot of lamb and all sorts of stuff. So it was pretty cool getting some of the Bulgarian cuisine, because we didn't have a ton of time to really see the city. It was just kind of like a standard minor league baseball trip where you're in there, you arrive late, two games the first day, and then you have your getaway day. So we played in the morning on Sunday, and then it was peace out. So there wasn't really much time to see the city, especially during the day. But we got to eat some authentic food and do some things with him. So that was pretty fun. So I think it was after the first day, Yuri had a barbecue ready for us. You saw the lamb on the spit, and we actually the players didn't want to eat with them, so the players went off and did their own thing. Luis and myself sat with Yuri and a couple of the Bulgarian guys, and we had lamb with them, cucumbers and tomatoes as our side dish. And I don't know, one thing I've been doing here is not refusing local food. Yuri sits down and one of his friends brings over another piece of the lamb, and it's like these kind of like chunks of something. And he's like, "Oh, don't eat any of this. This is the worst part." And he just grabs a big chunk and eats it. And I'm like, "So I'm gathering that you want me to eat that?" He's like, "Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts." So I eat a big hunk of it. And I'm like, "Okay, it was pretty good." Like, well, what was that? He's like, "Well, that was kidney." I'm like, "Okay, no big deal." And I'm like, "So what else you got?"
So are you sure that's a lamb?
Absolutely.
You can see the face and the
Трябва обаче едно нощче. Може ли да донесеш? Извинявай. You can try eye. It's very tasty.
Okay, all right.
Here we are.
All right.
You really?
I didn't drive 15 hours on the bus to not eat
Put
eyeballs.
some salt.
Some salt. All right.
I came in the same bus and I'm not eating that.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's a shame for you. But you are not eating.
Tastes like bacon.
Okay.
It is.
I believe you.
I believe me.
He will.
I'm also trying not to think too much about it.
He will bring a knife now because it's too difficult to open it.
Yeah, I was in the minor leagues as an athletic trainer for a few years during that era.
Overall, the food in Bulgaria was awesome. The Bulgarian guys were awesome. Yuri and his crew. They have a couple really good ball players on the team. A guy named Mitko, Dimitri. He took us out in the town a little bit on Saturday night, and speaking English with him and some of the others is awesome. And just talking about baseball from another country is awesome. And just talking, it's really weird as an American to think like I could have grown up in Bulgaria or Slovenia or the Ukraine or just some other random country, because you feel like the world centers around the United States. Like everywhere else is like an afterthought, and the United States is it. But that's not how the world is. Like the world doesn't revolve around anywhere, and really the U.S. is just another piece of it. And if anything, these other countries that have been around so much longer, they have a lot more heritage. They have a lot more interesting foods. From what I can tell, they have a lot more traditions. There's just a lot of deeper stuff, I feel like, in Europe, which is cool. So it was good to meet some other people, especially another English speaker who I could really talk about baseball with and the culture with. And I felt very welcomed by that whole group, which was cool. And I think that's something often you don't get in the U.S., where people are a little wary to sort of let you into their inner circle sometimes. But they kind of said, hey, like, you guys are new here. We got to take you out and kind of show you the city. So that was cool. I would have really loved to walk around Sofia because from what I could tell at night, it was beautiful. But we just didn't have time during the day. So, but at least, like I said, we had great hosts in Bulgaria. Our Turkish hosts, Camille and all them who were showing us around, they were awesome. So even though I was exhausted much of the trip, it was still really fun. Got to see a little bit of Bulgaria, eat some cool things, and the baseball, like I said, was pretty good. Bravo, bravo.